Welcome to AI Trend Talk.
I'm Isaac.
And I'm Alice. Today we're talking about natural disasters in Asia, a crazy day in the stock market, and a giant lottery prize. Let's get started.
So just imagine watching an entire country's wealth drop by like 8% in a matter of hours.
Yeah, that sounds terrifying.
Right. And then on that exact same day, someone else is holding this tiny piece of paper that's suddenly worth $830 million.
It really is crazy.
It is. So today we're doing a deep dive into what happens when human psychology collides with these really extreme, unpredictable events. We are exploring the biggest trends people in Taiwan are searching for right now.
And it's fascinating because these topics seem completely unrelated at first. I mean, we've got earthquakes, floods, global finance, and a lucky lottery ticket.
Yeah, totally different things.
But when you look closely, they all kind of show us how people react when they lose control, whether you are facing the power of nature or just the total chaos of the economy. So let's start with the physical world. A massive earthquake recently hit the southern part of the Philippines, specifically on an island called Mindanao.
And this wasn't just a small shake, right? It was a magnitude 7.8 earthquake.
Oh, wow, that is huge.
Yeah, for anyone listening who has never felt a 7.8, it is just incredibly violent. The ground doesn't just vibrate, it rolls and jumps. The energy released is, well, it's hard to even imagine.
Right, and the reports from our sources say that at least 32 people have sadly died and over 200 people were injured.
That is so tragic.
It really is. When the Earth moves that much, human-made structures simply cannot handle the stress. The shaking was so violent that many buildings actually fell down.
Which brings us to a key word. The word is collapse. It means to fall down suddenly because of weakness or damage. Example. Sadly, some old buildings collapsed during the strong earthquake.
Exactly, and when a building collapses, it traps people inside, which makes the rescue efforts very, very dangerous.
Right, because rescue workers have to carefully lift heavy concrete without causing more of the building to fall on them.
Yeah, exactly. And people in Taiwan are following this news very closely because, they understand this specific fear. Taiwan sits on the exact same active area of the Earth, known as the Ring of Fire.
But there was another detail in the reports that really caught my attention. Because this earthquake happened near the ocean, it actually triggered tsunami warnings.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the ocean is so deeply connected that even Japan saw small waves from this Philippine earthquake.
Wait, let me pause you there. The Philippines and Japan are thousands of kilometers apart.
Yeah, they are.
So how can shaking ground in one country push water all the way over to another country?
Well, that is the amazing and kind of scary physics of a tsunami. It isn't like a normal wave you see at the beach.
Right, because normal waves are created by wind on the surface of the water.
Exactly. But an earthquake happens deep underwater, so two massive pieces of the Earth's crust push against each other, and one suddenly snaps upward.
Oh, I see. So it physically lifts the water.
Yes. It lifts a giant column of water straight up, and then gravity immediately pulls that water back down.
And that energy has to go somewhere, right?
Exactly. It travels outward through the deep ocean, moving almost as fast as a jet airplane.
That is terrifying.
It is. By the time it reached Japan, the energy was smaller, creating waves about 20 to 30 centimeters high. But it just proves how connected the entire ocean really is.
That makes perfect sense. The energy just transfers through the water until it finally hits land.
Yep.
And speaking of hitting land, nature doesn't only strike from the ground. While the Philippines dealt with shaking earth, northern Taiwan recently dealt with extreme falling water.
Oh, right. The heavy rain.
Yes. The government actually had to send an emergency message to everyone's phones. They issued a level 2 flood warning.
But what does a level 2 flood warning actually mean for you, the listener? I mean, why do we need levels at all?
Good question. A level 2 warning specifically means that the rain is falling so incredibly fast that the drainage systems in your city simply cannot drink the water quickly enough.
Huh.
So if the rain continues at that speed, the streets and roads in your area will probably start to flood very soon. It is a clear signal to stop driving through low areas and maybe move your vehicle to higher ground.
And Taiwan's geography makes this very common, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. We have very tall, steep mountains right next to flat, crowded cities.
Right. So when a massive thunderstorm hits, all that water just rushes down the mountains and into the city, drains all at once.
Exactly. The pipes just become completely full.
And that is exactly what happened recently. Some roads were covered in deep water.
It was quite a mess.
It was. But what I found really interesting was how people reacted to it. You would think everyone would be angry or frightened.
Yeah, usually people hate floods.
But at East Wu University, the students actually use humor to deal with the whole situation.
Oh, you mean the East Rue Navy story? I read about that.
Sure.
The campus flooded so deeply that the water turned brown and muddy from all the dirt. And the students went on the internet and started joking that their school had turned into a giant water park.
A water park. That is a very creative way to look at a disaster.
Right. They were joking that the campus looked like the famous Yellow River. They called themselves the East Wu Navy, pretending they needed boats to get to their classes.
You know, making a joke is a very common human coping mechanism.
It really is.
When something goes wrong and you absolutely cannot control it, like extreme weather, laughing about it helps reduce the stress.
For sure. You can't stop the rain, but you can change how you feel about it.
I agree completely. Unpredictable weather forces us to adapt quickly.
Yeah.
But it isn't just the weather that changes fast. Let's move from natural systems to human-made systems. Because recently, a different kind of storm hit the world, and it hit the global economy hard.
Yes, it was a very bad day for global stock markets. Everywhere you looked, the numbers were red, meaning prices were dropping fast.
Really fast.
Yeah. South Korea's stock market was one of the hardest hit. It dropped by over 8% in just a single day.
Wow. An 8% drop for an entire country's market is massive.
It is huge.
But why did it fall so quickly? Did something terrible happen in South Korea specifically?
Not exactly. And this shows how closely connected the global economy is, just like the ocean we talked about earlier.
Oh, interesting connection.
Yeah. Investors were reading bad news about big technology companies in America. They were worried that these companies were not growing as fast as expected.
Okay, but how does that affect South Korea?
Well, because South Korea builds a lot of the computer chips and parts for those American companies, so the fear traveled across the ocean instantly.
I see. So if the American companies sell fewer products, the South Korean companies make less money.
Exactly.
But still, why does the market crash all at once? I mean, why don't prices just slowly go down over a few days?
That is where the psychology comes in. Today, the stock market isn't just humans trading. A lot of the trading is done by super fast computers.
Right, the algorithms.
Exactly. When bad news hits, these computer programs are designed to sell immediately to protect their money. So when the computers start selling, the prices drop.
And then humans see the prices dropping, they get scared, and they start selling too.
It creates a huge domino effect. Everyone runs for the door at the exact same time.
Wow. So in South Korea, the prices were dropping so fast that they actually had to use a special emergency system called a circuit breaker. It literally pauses all trading.
Wait, how does a circuit breaker work in the stock market? Is it like the electrical switch in my house?
It is the exact same concept. If you plug in too many heaters at home, the electrical wires get too hot.
Right, and it shuts off.
Exactly. Before a fire can start, the circuit breaker automatically turns off the power. In the stock market, the danger isn't electricity, it is fear. The system forces a pause. Nobody can buy and nobody can sell for a short time.
And what is the goal of that pause? To fix the computer programs?
No, to fix the humans. It stops people from making emotional decisions. They had to use it to stop people from selling their stocks in a panic.
Ah, and that leads us to our next keyword. The word is panic. It means a sudden feeling of great fear that stops you from thinking clearly. Example, the market closed early to stop people from selling their stocks in a panic.
Perfect. So the circuit breaker forces everyone to breathe, drink some water, and think logically again.
That makes a lot of sense. But Taiwan's market felt this storm too, right?
Oh, definitely.
The Taiwanese stock market had a scary drop of nearly 2,700 points.
It did. And you might expect Taiwanese investors to feel that exact same panic.
Yeah.
But this is where the story gets really fascinating.
What happened?
Usually when a financial storm hits, people run away. But many people in Taiwan actually ran toward the market.
Wait, why would they run toward a falling market? That sounds like running into a burning building.
Because they saw something different. They rushed to buy a very popular ETF called 0050. Have you heard of it?
I have. 0050 is a very famous investment here. But an ETF can be confusing for people. What exactly is it?
So think of an ETF like a basket of groceries at the supermarket. If you buy just one apple, which is like buying one single company's stock,
Yeah.
that apple might have a worm in it.
Right. It's risky.
Very risky.
Yeah.
But an ETF is a basket filled with many different kinds of food. Even if one apple is bad, You still have bread, milk, and vegetables.
So ETF 00050 is a basket holding the stock of the 50 biggest and strongest companies in Taiwan.
Exactly. Companies that make vital computer chips and electronics.
Yes, I see.
When the global market crashed, the price of this 0050 basket dropped significantly. It went below 100 NTD.
Wow.
Yeah. And many Taiwanese investors looked at this dropping price and they did not see danger. They saw a rare opportunity.
Because the companies inside the basket hadn't suddenly become terrible companies overnight. The factories were still running.
Exactly.
The chips were still being made. The price only dropped because everyone else was afraid.
You got it. They believe that buying when prices are low is a great chance to invest and save money for the future.
Ah, smart.
Yeah, they see the market drop like a giant discount sale at their favorite store. They believe the storm will eventually pass, the panic will end, and the real value of those companies will go back up.
But buying low requires a lot of emotional control. You have to stay perfectly calm while the news is screaming that the sky is falling.
It really does.
You are basically trusting the long-term future over the short-term fear.
Right, it is a calculated risk. They are studying the businesses and making a logical choice. But, not everyone wants to study the economy to find their wealth.
That's very true.
Some people look for it in a completely different way.
You were talking about pure random luck.
Exactly.
And this brings us to the final search trend for today. While some people were staring at stock market charts, many others were staring at lottery tickets.
Oh, yes, the Super Lotto, or as it's known here, Wei Li Kai. It is absolutely huge right now.
People are lining up at stores just to buy a ticket. And the reason why is really a masterclass in probability.
Why is that?
Because no one has won the top prize for 27 games in a row.
27 games without a single winner. That sounds almost impossible.
Right.
How does a game go that long without someone guessing the right numbers?
Well, the game works by choosing a specific set of numbers. If the numbers on your paper match the balls that come out of the machine, you win.
Okay.
But the mathematical chance of guessing the perfect combination is incredibly tiny. Millions of tickets are sold, but the total number of possible combinations is so large that often the winning combination simply isn't printed on anyone's ticket.
I see. But what happens to all the money that people paid for those tickets if nobody wins?
That is the magic of the rollover. The prize money from the game nobody won gets added to the very next game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so because nobody won for 27 games, the prize just kept growing and growing and growing. It is like a snowball rolling down a very long mountain.
So how big is the snowball right now?
The top prize has grown to an amazing 830 million NTD.
830 million. That is hard to even process.
It is.
That is life-changing generational wealth. It is no wonder people are eagerly searching the internet for the latest winning numbers. They are hoping to win the jackpot.
And that is our final key word. The word is jackpot. It means the biggest prize you can win in a game or lottery. Example, if I win the huge lottery jackpot today, I will buy a comfortable house for my family.
A comfortable house, travel, helping your family. I mean, the dreams are endless.
They really are. People are searching for numbers like 05, 07, 14, 25, and 38, hoping they are holding the lucky ticket.
But really, the Super Lotto is the complete opposite of buying the 005, the ETF, isn't it?
How do you mean?
Well, with the ETF, investors believe they have a small amount of control. They study the 50 companies, they look at the prices, and they make a logical choice to buy during a crash.
Right.
They believe their patience will be rewarded. But with the lottery, you have zero control.
True.
It is just pure random chance. The balls bounce around in a machine, and logic has absolutely nothing to do with it.
That is a brilliant point. But, I think they both offer the exact same feeling to the person buying them. They both offer hope.
Hope?
Yes. For a lot of people, buying a lottery ticket isn't really about the math. They know the chances are tiny.
Yeah, everyone knows it's a long shot.
But for just a few dollars, that ticket buys them the right to dream for a few days. Before the winning numbers are announced, they get to imagine a totally different life. It is sort of a temporary escape from their normal routine.
I love that perspective. Whether you're buying a stock market ETF on a red day or buying a Super Lotto ticket after 27 rollovers, you are making a bet on a better future.
Exactly. And when you look at all the trends we discussed today, they really show the full picture of the human experience.
They really do.
We started by looking at forces we cannot control, like the devastating magnitude 7.8 earthquake in the Philippines.
Right. We learned how the energy from the shifting Earth can collapse buildings and even send tsunami waves across the ocean to Japan. It reminds us of how fragile our human-made structures are.
Then we saw extreme weather locally, with the heavy rain and the level 2 flood warning in northern Taiwan.
Yeah.
But we also saw how people find light in the dark, like the students inventing the East Wu Navy to laugh at their flooded university.
And from natural storms, we moved to financial storms. We examined why global connections caused the South Korean market to drop over 8%.
And how circuit breakers act like a pause button to stop the panic.
Exactly. And yet, right here in Taiwan, thousands of investors looked at the dropping market and saw a discount sale, rushing to buy the 0050F ETF basket of companies.
Finally, we talked about the power of pure luck and probability, with the Super Lotto jackpot reaching 830 million NTD simply because the numbers refused to match for 27 games.
Unpredictable Earth, unpredictable markets, and unpredictable luck. The world is constantly moving, but human beings always find a way to adapt, find humor, and look for opportunities.
We hope you enjoyed exploring these connections with us today.
And remember to keep practicing English with the ideas we talked about today. But before we go, we want to leave you with something to think about.
Here is your comment challenge for today. If you won the 830 million NTD lottery jackpot today, what is the very first thing you would do with the money?
That is such a fun question to dream about.
Yeah.
Let your imagination run wild. We can't wait to hear your answers. Thank you so much for joining our conversation today.
We hope you learned something new and had fun doing it. Stay safe out there, keep learning, and we will talk to you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.